What is up, everybody? If you're not familiar, my name is Kyle. Welcome to our channel, The Boat Breakers, and today we're going to be talking about something that I just found out about, and honestly, I'm slightly concerned, and because of that, I felt like I had to share it with you. Casinos are the land of opportunity where you can work your way up from table minimums to a small fortune if you're lucky enough. We've all heard about that one cruiser who's hit a massive jackpot on the slots or have hit a really big on a table. But what if I told you casinos in the middle of the ocean aren't regulated the same as casinos on land? Would that surprise you? What if I told you that casinos in the middle of the ocean don't have any regulations at all? When you gamble on vacation, you pretty much know that you're almost never guaranteed to win because the favors are in odds of the house. And sometimes you even think if you lose, it's okay because you know you might potentially be comped a free cruise from the cruise line. However, there's a lot these casinos are not telling you when they are operated on a cruise ship. To get a better understanding of how we got here, let's go all the way back to 1991, when the Cruise Ship Competitiveness Act was passed, which allowed the cruise lines to operate as a casino once they are in international waters from the US. Because these casinos are in international waters, it kind of becomes a little unclear of who's supposed to govern and regulate these ships and these casinos on board. So let's dive into some key differences about some land-based casinos versus casinos on board in the middle of the ocean. Cruise ships have some unique characteristics. They're a lot smaller compared to their land-based counterparts and still manage to pack in pretty much every game you could think of under the sun. Pretty much every cruise line has slots, poker, blackjack, craps, and roulette. And yes, the hours do change quite often depending on which countries you're sailing from and when you'll be reaching international waters compared to a land-based casino that's probably 24/7. So when it's 2, 3 in the morning and you're trying to win back all the money from the daytime, the casino is probably going to close and kick you out, unlike land-based casinos when you could sit there, play, and hopefully try to win your money back, which is a slippery slope in itself. Gambling is undeniably popular, and cruise lines capitalized on this because it is a major revenue stream for their bottom line. Some guests really do enjoy gambling in the casinos, and because these cruise lines offer that, they are satisfying a big need. However, just like some land-based casinos, there are potentially some shady practices being done. And today we're going to be going over some potential regulations and things that you probably didn't know. Let's address the first elephant in the room: odds and payouts. It's no surprise that when you're gambling, the house definitely has an advantage, and when you win on casinos, they definitely like to limit that. On most land-based casinos, when you win in blackjack, they will pay you 6-5 if you hit blackjack. However, on cruises, it's 3-2, which actually means 6-4. So you are getting paid less on a cruise ship when you hit blackjack. This isn't unfair, but this is a way that cruise lines mitigate their costs when paying out customers. And the question of fairness on board starts to lead us to regulations. So cruise ships casinos are regulated by the Cruise Line International Association, CLIA for short, and that association looks over the rules of play, equipment standards, audits, and much more. So rest assured, they do have a reputation to uphold. However, cruise line standards are not the same as many industry standards of casinos on land, and that is especially true in the United States. Because this association does have a brand and should have to uphold its image in the public eye, they're not going to jeopardize that for a couple small hands and some small jackpot winnings. It's more so the bigger winnings that they have to pay out. Being the little journalist that I am, I went to the CLIA website just to go over the gambling section and see what's being held accountable for these casinos. And honestly, looking at the rules of play and the internal controls, there's not much protecting the player's safety. The only thing that really states that there has to be any sort of rules is saying that each cruise line must have some sort of surveillance to ensure that the operations are fair and equitable. However, that's extremely broad and it doesn't really cover any safety features, so I don't know. And this brings us to the question of the day: is gambling on a cruise ship legal? Short answer, yes. Long answer, it's complicated. When you're in international waters, gambling is completely legal. And the casino only operates in international waters because once you get 12 miles close to the country shoreline, any country shoreline, you have to start following those countries' rules and regulations. That is why when you first walk onto a cruise ship, the casino is closed, and anytime you're in port, the casino is closed unless you are on the cruise ship's private island, which doesn't have any regulations. Cruise ships are notorious for having very low table minimums to draw in first-time gamblers, potentially to prey on them, but that is a different topic. They use these minimums to attract people who usually don't play, and because of that, there are typically no high stakes tables or high stakes games at all on cruise ships. It's more so to be a fun environment. Typically, the casino on cruise ships is one of the only places you can smoke on board, and unlike land-based casinos, they don't give you free drinks, so you're still paying for all your drinks. So keeping you there gambling at the tables and while you're ordering drinks kind of ensures that you're going to be making the cruise line money through your losings in the casino and ordering cocktails, paying for beverages as you go. They really don't have any competition, and because of that, they can pretty much do whatever they want to you in the middle of the ocean. You can capitalize on your losses by joining their loyalty program on board and potentially winning a free cruise, however, and this helps offset some of the costs, but then again, the next cruise you go on, you'll probably be gambling as well, and it's a vicious cycle. So just as a disclaimer, even though I'm not a role model, always gamble what you can afford to lose, and the house, as a rule of thumb, always wins. So when you do win, take your money, get up and run, because that doesn't happen very often. And especially with some of the ways that the decks have been cut. Some of these casinos on cruise ships offer more decks than they usually would have on land when you're playing certain games. And you'll notice the payouts are not as high. So if you are winning, make sure to take that money and run. As an example of changing stakes, on the last cruise I was on MSC, they had a table that was blackjack. However, there were no 10s in the deck. They still had all of the picture cards, but they had no 10s, and they did not advertise so. So a lot of people were busting and hitting and getting really low cards, altering the way you should play the game because it was unfamiliar to everyone and it wasn't advertised. So you just have to be really careful and very cognizant of when you're in the casino, especially when you're playing tables, because they might have altered some things in the deck. Also, cruise ship slots are altered and do not have the same algorithm sometimes on certain cruise lines. I will not say which or where this is coming from, but their algorithm is not the same as ones that would be on land, which means the payouts could be less frequent. You have to put a higher cash value in to start seeing those payouts. So just be really wary that the house does win, and there's some things that cruise lines do because they're not as heavily regulated to give them the upper hand. These are just some things that I found really fascinating, and honestly, as of someone who has gambled for the last couple of years on these cruise ships, I didn't know, and I figured if I didn't know, it would be worth sharing so somebody else can get some value out of this. If you did learn something new, please feel free to subscribe to us. We come out with tips, tricks, and reviews pretty much every week, and it would mean the world. You can always unsubscribe. It really helps us out. And be sure to hit the like button below. Thank you very much for watching, and definitely have a good day. Take it easy. Peace.